Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Modi holds talks with Brazil's President Lula da Silva in New Delhi on strengthening ties in trade, critical minerals, defense, energy and digital technology. US President Trump signs a global 10% tariff on all countries, hours after the country's top court ruled that his levies on imports are illegal. Amid growing tensions, Iran signals an openness for a draft nuclear deal as US President Trump considers a limited military strike on it. And in sports, Super 8 matches of the T20 Cricket World Cup begin. India to face South Africa on Sunday. Prime Minister Modi and Brazil's President Lula da Silva met at Hyderabad House in New Delhi, seeking to boost cooperation on key sectors. The two leaders are also expected to discuss global economic headwinds and strains on multilateral trading systems, prompting the two sides to call for stronger cooperation. On Thursday, President Lula addressed the AI Impact Summit in New Delhi, where he called for a multilateral and inclusive global governance framework for artificial intelligence. In a short while from now, Prime Minister Modi and President Lula will deliver a joint press statement on key agreements exchanged. The visiting Brazilian leader also paid his tributes to Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation, at Rajghat in New Delhi. Let's take you live to New Delhi for the joint press statement and the talks. Right, so if you're just tuning in, we are getting to the latest visuals of the two leaders of India and Brazil, Prime Minister Modi and President Lula, holding delegation-level talks at Hyderabad House in New Delhi. Remember, President Lula is on a visit to India for taking part in the AI Impact Summit, followed by a visit for bilateral talks in New Delhi. Here, the two leaders can be seen meeting each other at Hyderabad House along with their respective delegations. So in a short while from now, Prime Minister Modi and Brazil's President Lula will deliver a joint press statement on key agreements exchanged. A ceremonial welcome was held at the forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan for Brazil's President Lula, who is on a state visit to India. President Lula was accorded the Guard of Honor at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. The Brazilian leader was received at the Rashtrapati Bhavan by President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Minister S. Jaishankar met with the visiting Brazilian leader in New Delhi. Minister Jaishankar deeply appreciated Brazil's warm sentiments and guidance on advancing strategic partnership between the two countries. Minister Jaishankar also showed confidence that President Lula's meetings with Prime Minister Modi later will impart a new momentum to the bilateral relationship. Prime Minister Modi will participate in the groundbreaking ceremony of the HCL Foxconn joint venture project, India Chip Private Limited, in Uttar Pradesh via video conferencing. The establishment of the HCL Foxconn Semiconductor facility marks a significant milestone in India's journey towards technological self-reliance. The project is aligned with the government's efforts to strengthen domestic manufacturing capabilities, reduce import dependence and build resilient global supply chains. It's expected to play a crucial role in supporting key sectors such as automobiles, consumer electronics and other devices. Through this initiative, India's semiconductor ecosystem will receive a major boost, fostering innovation, skill development and technology transfer. The facility is also expected to create thousands of direct and indirect employment opportunities. Prime Minister Modi will visit Meerut, a city in Uttar Pradesh, on 22nd February. The Prime Minister is to flag off the Meerut Metro and Namo Bharat train at Shatabdi Nagar Namo Bharat station. From there, he will undertake a metro ride till Meerut South station. Afterwards, the Prime Minister will inaugurate and dedicate to the nation various developmental projects worth around 12,930 crore rupees. With a design speed of 180 kilometers per hour, the Namo Bharat is India's first regional rapid transit system. It will connect major urban centers such as Sahibabad, Ghaziabad, Modi Nagar and Meerut with New Delhi at a faster pace. The Prime Minister will also inaugurate the Meerut Metro services operating on the same infrastructure as the Namo Bharat in a first-of-its-kind initiative in the country. These projects will provide further impetus to Prime Minister's vision of transforming urban mobility and ensuring seamless, efficient, modern and sustainable public transport systems that improve ease of living for people. India is stepping into the next phase of its AI journey with AI Mission 2.0. Building on the momentum of the AI Impact Summit, the government is now focusing on advanced foundational models, sovereign compute capacity and stronger safety frameworks. The message is clear. India aims to lead the future of responsible and high-performance artificial intelligence. More in the next report.
Artificial intelligence is redefining economies, governance and societies worldwide, and India is now firmly embedded in that transformation. Launched on February 16, the India AI Impact Summit brought together representatives from nearly 120 countries. Among the prominent attendees were French President Emmanuel Macron and Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, alongside heads of state and senior delegations from 20 nations.
This AI Impact Summit has been a grand success on many fronts. The quality of participation, the quality of dialogue was phenomenal. Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji's vision of Manav AI, which is AI of the humans, by the humans, for the humans. I think that was very well accepted.
The government termed the summit as a major success. As per official records, more than 500,000 people participated in the conference, and the level of discussions was of a very high quality. During the summit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi presented his vision of human AI, which was widely appreciated. Many countries praised India's efforts towards building a responsible and inclusive global AI framework. 70 countries have supported the AI Summit outcome document, and the number is expected to reach 80. During the summit, announcements were made for investments worth $250 billion in AI infrastructure and $25 billion in venture capital funding. As part of the broader roadmap, government would soon begin work on AI Mission 2.0, a next-generation strategy aimed at building advanced foundational AI models, expanding common compute infrastructure, strengthening safety frameworks, and deepening capabilities across the entire AI stack. The mission will focus on developing sovereign, high-performance AI systems while ensuring responsible and ethical deployment.
We'll very soon start working on the AI Mission 2.0, which will be definitely bigger than what it was in the AI Mission 1.0. Many of the goals we had set for ourselves in the Mission 1.0 are on the verge of getting completed, and many of them have actually exceeded. So now we have to set bigger goals and achieve them as a part of the AI Mission 2.0.
Among 4 global AI conferences held so far, this was the largest in scale and participation. The India AI Impact Summit not only advanced conversations on innovation, but also reinforced ethical and responsible AI governance. Through this initiative, India has projected growing technological confidence and signaled its intent to emerge as a leading voice in shaping the future of artificial intelligence. Bureau Report, DD India.
The AI Impact Summit Expo has been extended by a day till 21st February, citing an overwhelming response from visitors and exhibitors. The summit was earlier scheduled to conclude on the 20th. India's Deputy Permanent Representative to the United Nations, Ambassador Yojana Patel, delivered statement at the intergovernmental negotiations on UN Security Council reforms, focusing on categories of membership. Ambassador Patel said the Council has failed to meet core responsibilities on peace and security. She emphasized that reforms must include expansion of permanent membership, saying that without it, the process would be incomplete. She rejected proposals that introduce a third category, saying that they risk pushing real reform decades into the future. She also insisted that any restructuring must correct, not worsen, existing imbalances.
Any reform that does not result in the expansion of the permanent category would be incomplete, unjust, and ignorant of the aspirations of an overwhelming number of member states, particularly those who are reform-centric. Second, the need for expansion of both categories is self-evident. The number of permanent to non-permanent members changed from 5 versus 6 to 5 versus 10 during the only marginal reform of the Council more than 6 decades ago. Even then, there was no expansion in the permanent category. This resulted in accentuating the imbalance between the two categories, disproportionately enhancing the salience of the permanent category. Consideration of a third category is a red herring that is intended to delay the process further and derail the path towards reform entirely, or deliberately seek a suboptimal outcome that would push real reform many decades into the future to the detriment of the legitimacy, credibility, and relevance of the UN. India has always approached IGN in a forward-leaning and flexible manner in order to realize the vision of real reforms.
In a historic moment, the Indian Navy assumed the chair of Indian Ocean Naval Symposium from the Royal Thai Navy, marking India's return to the helm after 16 years. The 9th conclave of chiefs of the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium convened at Visakhapatnam on Friday, bringing together chiefs of navies and heads of maritime security agencies from 33 countries, representing IONS members, observers, and other Indian Ocean littoral nations. Participation spanning from the Atlantic to the Pacific reflected the growing alignment of like-minded navies committed to strengthening maritime cooperation and security in the Indian Ocean region. India outlined initiatives to be advanced during its tenure, including the conduct of the IONS maritime exercise, continued deployment of the IOS Sagar to IONS member countries with participation of personnel from IONS navies and maritime security agencies on board, and structured maritime information sharing workshops and dialogues aimed at enhancing operational interaction, professional exchange, and capability enhancement. Still to come on DD India Live. The US military strikes a vessel in the eastern Pacific, killing 3 men. And floods wreak havoc in Peru and France. More on that after the break.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy, always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the Economic Brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. The US top court on Friday rejected President Trump's sweeping tariffs under a law meant for use in national emergencies are illegal. In a 6-3 ruling, the court said the tariff policies under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act are unconstitutional, officially striking down the global tariffs Trump has introduced since April. The judges ruled that the president did not have the authority under the law to impose import tariffs on goods from nearly all the U.S. trading partners. The voting upheld that it is the right of the legislature to impose taxes, not the president. On the same day, President Trump called the court decision a disgrace to the country. Meanwhile, President Trump has signed an executive order to impose a 10% tariff on imported goods from all countries after the Supreme Court struck down many of his sweeping and often arbitrary duties. In a post on Truth Social, President Trump said, and I quote, "It's my great honor to have just signed from the Oval Office a global 10% tariff on all countries, which will be effective almost immediately," unquote. President Trump's announcement comes after the court invalidated tariffs that had been imposed under the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Those earlier duties range from 10 to 50%.
Today, I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122, over and above our normal tariffs already being charged.
President Trump also confirmed that his government is launching new country-specific investigations under Section 301 of the 1974 Trade Act. He said these steps are to protect our country from unfair trading practices of other countries and companies. He suggested that even higher tariffs could follow. Earlier in the day, President Trump told journalists that he was using Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974 to bring in the fresh duties. The rarely used provision allows the president to impose tariffs of up to 15% to address serious imbalance of payments issues. It does not require a lengthy investigation. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the new 10% tariff, along with possible actions under other trade laws, would ensure that tariff revenues remain largely unchanged in 2026. Meanwhile, U.S. stocks closed higher after the court struck down sweeping tariffs imposed by President Trump. The Dow Jones rose 0.47%, while the S&P 500 gained nearly 0.7%, and the Nasdaq advanced 0.9%. The court ruled 6-3 that the administration exceeded its authority by using emergency powers to impose broad import duties. Iran and the US are sliding rapidly towards military conflict as hopes fade for a diplomatic solution to their standoff over Tehran's nuclear program. Iran's Gulf neighbors and Israel now consider a conflict to be more likely than a settlement, with Washington, D.C. building up one of its biggest military deployments in the region. Israel's government said Tehran and Washington, D.C. are making preparations for possible joint military action, though no decision has been made yet on whether to carry out such an operation. Two rounds of Iran-US talks have stalled on core issues from uranium enrichment to missiles and sanctions relief. After talks in Geneva on Tuesday, Arakchi said the two sides agreed on guiding principles, but the White House said there was still distance between them. Iran is expected to submit a written proposal in the coming days, a U.S. official said, and Minister Arakchi said on Friday that he expected to have a draft counter-proposal ready within days. But President Trump warned Iran on Thursday it must make a deal over its nuclear program or really bad things will happen. U.S. officials say Trump has yet to make up his mind about using military force, although he acknowledged on Friday that he could order a limited strike to try to force Iran into a deal. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio is due to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on February 28 to discuss Iran. A U.S. official said it would be mid-March before all U.S. forces were in place. Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said on Friday he expected to have a draft counter-proposal ready within days following nuclear talks with the U.S. this week. In an interview, Araghchi said he had a draft counter-proposal that could be ready for top Iranian officials for review in the next 2 or 3 days, with more U.S.-Iran talks possible in a week or so. While at the UN, spokesperson Stephanie Dujarric reiterated concerns about heightened rhetoric and increased military activities in the region. Two U.S. officials said U.S. military planning on Iran had reached an advanced stage if ordered by President Trump. As President Trump on Thursday gave Tehran a deadline of 10 to 15 days to make a deal to resolve their long-standing nuclear dispute. The U.S. military struck a vessel in the Eastern Pacific, killing 3 men, the latest such incident in recent months. Footage released by U.S. Southern Command on X showed a strike on a military vessel. President Donald Trump's administration has touted its success at taking out suspected drug trafficking vessels in the area. The military said in a post on X the vessel was engaged in narco-trafficking operations. Some weather updates now. At least 5 people have died after a powerful snowstorm swept across Austria, triggering avalanches and widespread disruption. 4 skiers were killed in separate incidents in the Tyrol region, including 3 near St. Anton. Authorities say avalanche fatalities this winter have now risen to 21 and have warned of continued high risk. Up to 40 centimeters of snow disrupted road and air traffic, briefly shutting Vienna International Airport and cutting power to thousands of homes. Heavy rains in Peru's southern Arequipa region triggered deadly floods and landslides, killing at least 2 people and causing widespread damage. According to authorities, torrential downpours began on Thursday, inundated residential areas, turning streets into rivers of mud and stranding vehicles while damaging homes and infrastructure. Officials said 1 victim was struck by lightning while an elderly woman died after a river overflowed because of the intense rainfall. In several parts of Arequipa, vehicles were pushed together by floodwaters while residents waded through submerged streets and pumped water out of their homes. France is facing severe flooding after weeks of relentless rainfall pushed rivers to critical levels, prompting red alerts across multiple regions. Authorities warn that conditions could worsen as Storm Pedro advances, bringing additional heavy rain and strong winds to already saturated areas. Several departments along France's west coast remain on maximum flood alert, with emergency crews monitoring rising riverbanks and reinforcing vulnerable infrastructure. To sports news now, India's Super 8 campaign at the T20 Cricket World Cup begins with a blockbuster contest with South Africa in Ahmedabad on Sunday. The high-voltage clash between the finalists of the 2024 edition will be played at the Narendra Modi Stadium. Both India and South Africa managed to win all 4 matches played in the group stage, and they will be eager to extend their winning run. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. You can get the latest news on the DD India mobile app on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code when you can to download it. We'll be back with more news as it breaks. I am Ramesh Ramachandran. From all of us here in New Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.